Chapter 11. Arriving at the county city, the test begins. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Early the next morning, Ling Jiu and the other recruits were led to the Arcanist Directorate by Instructor Bai Yang as well as a company Arcanist. The Arcanist Directorate was, principally, a government agency that oversaw all of the Arcanists in Lantian Base City. All Arcanists had to register with the Directorate and receive oversight from the Directorate. Many Arcanists had gathered in the square in front of the Directorate building, and they were chatting with their peers from their respective companies. Among them were independent awakened Arcanists and the rejected ones from previous years. Besides, the media was present too. The new recruit training and assessment was a big event in Lantian Base City every year. The city would telecast the entire event live from start to finish. That showed the importance the government placed on the awakened Arcanist recruits. The event began once the clock struck 9. It started with a customary opening ceremony, as well as speeches from the leaders, company, and Arcanist representatives. Right after all of that, the assessment program commenced. The recruits hopped into cars, leaving Lantian Base City for the wilderness outside the city. Ling Jiu was heading into the wilderness of this world for the first time. His eyes darted around as he could not hold back his curiosity. On both sides of the pothole-filled road were bushes, trees, car wrecks, tires, bicycles, bones, and rubbish. It was a stark contrast to the neat environment of the base city. Seeing all of this, Ling Jiu could imagine the images of the disaster that happened 30 years ago. Dire beasts were running on a rampage, while people were fleeing, abandoning their cars, public transport, and bicycles in a panic. In the end, they abandoned their houses. It's a desolate world out here. I can't believe that this is how it looks like outside the base city. Is that a lake? It's big. I've never seen a lake as big as that. Also, the endless forest. As desolate as the wilderness was, there was also something that the base city sorely lacked. Natural sceneries of lakes, forest, mountains, large trees, fields, and whatnot. The scenery made these teenagers, who had never left the base city since they were born, gape in awe. Ling Jiu lamented, compared with the humans in his past life, humans of this world lived in a compressed space, and the once inhabited areas had turned desolate. At the same time, the sky had also become bluer, the water clearer, and the air cleaner. The natural environment was so much better now than it was during his past life. A coin has two sides, and so does disaster. Who knows, perhaps the disaster was part of Earth's self-protective mechanism. Time ticked by rapidly as they looked at everything in awe. An hour later, the convoy arrived at the destination, Kajiapo County City. Everyone disembarked. See this abandoned city in front of your eyes. This is Kajiapo County City, where you are going to undergo the test. The dire beasts have taken over the city, turning it into a dire beast haven. Director Yang of the Arcanist Directorate spoke through a loudspeaker. Lantian Base City is committed to expanding the base city, and Kajiapo is an important target of expansion because of its ideal environment. So we have been actively getting rid of the dire beasts in Kajiapo County City over the past few years and killed all the powerful dire beasts. What's left is a massive number of Class 1 and Class 2 dire beasts. That's why we have chosen this place as the test venue. Your mission is simple. Enter Kajiapo County City, kill the remaining dire beasts, and gouge out their hearts. Remember this. Safety first, and test second. Avoid going at it in teams for safety because that will affect your assessment. The test will last for 3 days. The county city was dilapidated, with feces and dire beast carcasses filling the streets. Nature had reclaimed the city, as vegetation had covered shops and tall buildings. It looked almost like a lost city in a movie. As Ling Jiu walked on a street that was overgrown with grass and bushes, he could not help but lament the changes that the county city had undergone in just 30 years. While Ling Jiu was still deep in thought, a gust of powerful wind blew behind him. His heart skipped a beat as he quickly flipped 2 meters to the side, dodging the attack. A beast scraped past him and landed on the ground in front of him. It was a giant hound-type dire beast that was 2 meters long. It had a mane with needle-like fur all over its body and 4 long fangs in its mouth. A Class 1 dire beast, a saber-tooth hound. Ling Jiu immediately recognized it. Besides practicing the Bahamut absorption technique to absorb the gene arcana and controlling his arcanas for the past 6 months, he had also learned theoretical knowledge about arcanas and dire beasts, including how to differentiate their species. Ling Jiu was confident that he could recognize every species of dire beast ever recorded. The saber-tooth hound had evolved from a husky, but it differed from it in the sense that it was extremely vicious, aggressive, and fast. Its mouth had a crushing force more powerful than that of a lion. The saber-tooth hound roared as it stared viciously at Ling Jiu before it leaped into the air and made a move to bite Ling Jiu's throat. Ling Jiu was dead sure that he would have to say goodbye to his head if the dire beast got its mouth on his neck. Here you go. Ling Jiu raised his hand and grabbed a rock from the ground without having to actually touch it. The melon-sized rock felt like nothing in his hand as his movements were quick. He hit the saber-tooth hound in the mouth, breaking several teeth before he raised the rock again and hammered down on the hound's skull. The saber-tooth hound howled in pain as the force sent it flying backward. I'm not done with you yet. Ling Jiu stomped his foot on the ground and a vast number of earthen spikes jutted out of the ground into the saber-tooth hound's body. The hound quietened and was motionless. Afraid that it was feigning death, Ling Jiu smashed its head with a rock for good measure. After that, he took out a knife and gouged out its heart, which he then put in a dimensional pocket. It was said that the dimensional pocket was the pouch that the dimensional kangaroos used to carry their young. It had roughly 100 cubic feet in space and was a handy storage space. However, this gadget was expensive. Not every arcanist could afford one. Ling Jiu had gotten this one as a loan from the company. He would have to return it after the test. Moving on to the next one. Chapter 12. Gravity Arcana, the Class 2 Dire Beast. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Ling Jiu arrived before an abandoned shop and heard a noise inside. Peeking through a shattered window, he saw a few kittens the size of toy poodles playing inside. The kittens had fluffy, fire-red fur, and they were cute to the max. Girls would surely love them. Nonetheless, Ling Jiu knew that they were not ordinary kittens but firecats, which looked adorable when they were young but became blood-thirsty demons once fully grown. Should I kill them? A meow entered his ear while Ling Jiu mumbled to himself. He looked sideways as a sharp pain hit his face followed by 4 bloody streaks. Damn it! Ling Jiu became furious, and he glared at the attacking firecat. It was 1 meter tall and 2 meters long with fiery-red fur as well as a pair of ruby eyes. That was the firecat. The firecat was a Class 1 dire beast. Not only were its movements as quick as lightning, but its claws were also incredibly sharp. Its combat strength was a notch higher than that of a saber-tooth hound. How dare you scratch my handsome face? I'll kill you. Ling Jiu attacked it by thrusting his stone spear forward. The firecat dodged it easily and struck its claws at Ling Jiu's throat. Its claws were so terrifyingly sharp that they could easily slit his throat open. Go to hell. Ling Jiu hissed, stomping his right foot on the ground. An earthen wall rose and blocked the firecat's attack. The firecat leaped onto the earthen wall and easily scaled over it. Then it pounced on Ling Jiu, who greeted it with 3 pomelo-sized marbles. True to its reputation as a speed-type dire beast, the firecat dodged the marbles. But little did it expect that the 3 marbles would make a 180 turn in the air. The move shocked the firecat, but it was too late to dodge. Dush! Dush! Dush. The 3 marbles hit the firecat in its waist and abdomen, causing it to lose its balance in the air. Seizing the opportunity, Ling Jiu gripped a stone spear in his hand and thrust it at the firecat's belly, the softest part of its body. The stone spear penetrated its belly, and the firecat struggled for a moment before it dropped dead to the ground. Ling Jiu breathed a sigh of relief. Speed-type dire beasts were nasty because of their speed. Lucky for him, his skills were good enough to kill the firecat. He cut out the firecat's heart, then shot a glance at those firecat kittens in the shop and snapped his fingers. Boom! The shop collapsed instantly, swallowing those few kittens, which were too young. Those Class 1 dire beasts and their hearts were of no value to him, but they had to die because they were dire beasts. Help! Help! Ling Jiu moved on, but before he could make it far, he heard a distressed voice calling for help. Following the voice, he ran over and witnessed something terrifying. A python as thick as the thigh of an adult with patterns on its skin was wrapping itself around a teenager. The teenager was trying to fight back frantically and calling out for help. However, the python was too strong for him, and his struggle was futile. As the python squeezed tighter, the teenager's voice became weaker, and the bones inside his body crackled. Help, help me! The teenager spotted Ling Jiu. Knowing that Ling Jiu was his last hope, he screamed at the top of his lungs. Ling Jiu knew that he could not let the kid die. They could compete with and rob each other of their harvest later, but watching the other die without lending a helping hand was a no-no. It would reflect badly on a person's character and be detrimental to a person's career development. Eat this! Ling Jiu raised his hand, and the rocks formed a stone hammer in his hand. He wielded the colossal hammer and smashed down the python's head. Dush! 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 Repeated blows smashed the python's head, forcing it to gradually ease up its squeeze, and the teenager escaped. Thank you so much for saving me. The teenager looked at the python with its smashed head. I would have died if it weren't for you. You're welcome. Just be careful next time. Ling Jiu reminded the teenager, patting him on the shoulder. He suddenly froze. The moment he lay his hand on the teenager, a few lines of text appeared in his vision. Name: Fu Chang'an race. Human special ability: Gravity manipulation, awakened, replicable, gravity manipulation. This chap's special ability is gravity manipulation. Holy moly, this is a terrific special ability. Not to mention, it complements my Earth-element arcana well. Ling Jiu could not have been more excited. He had replicated Earth manipulation, shadowing, and other special abilities over the past 6 months. With the exception of Earth manipulation, he could not use shadowing and the other special abilities on a whim. He was worried that others might find out and associate them with his special ability of replication. However, it was a different story with Gravity Arcana. He was not afraid of being found out because it belonged to the Earth-element arcana. In fact, many Earth-element arcanists would naturally acquire the Gravity Arcana once they reached the pinnacle of the Earth-element arcana. I am of the Earth-element arcana. Even if I demonstrate the Gravity Arcana, no one is going to suspect me of my replication ability but think that it's just a natural ability that comes with the Earth-element arcana. With that thought in mind, Ling Jiu quietly replicated Fu Chang'an's Gravity Arcana. After some pleasantries, he left. He wanted to find a relatively inconspicuous and safe place to assimilate the Gravity Arcana so that he would have one more ability up his sleeve. What came in abundance in the county city were shops and residential buildings. Ling Jiu quickly found a safe and inconspicuous place. Half an hour later, Ling Jiu was back on the street, resuming his hunt for the dire beasts as if nothing had happened before. There were many dire beasts hiding around the place, but most of them were Class 1 dire beasts. With Ling Jiu's current strength, those Class 1 dire beasts were no match for him. He killed a dozen dire beasts along the way. Kjiapo Zoo. Ling Jiao ended up in front of a zoo. Hearing a heated fight, he followed the sound and arrived to see a group of people attacking a giant alligator-type dire beast. The 10-meter-long alligator-type dire beast looked like a van. Lumpy and hard scales covered its back, and 1-meter-long spikes grew on both sides of its ribs. The dire beast appeared extremely hideous. It's an iron spike gator, a Class 2 dire beast. Ling Jiao immediately recognized the alligator. These guys have guts. Aren't they afraid of that Class 2 dire beast? As Ling Jiao pondered about it, he looked at those who were attacking the iron spike gator. It startled him to see Li Kai among them. Why is Li mingling with these people? Ling Jiao furrowed his brows. Li Kai aside, the other guys looked older. One was even a middle-aged man. If he was not mistaken, these people were either the Arcanists who had awakened independently or the rejected from the previous years. Li Kai was with them. Come on, guys. This beast is getting weaker now, a young man dressed in a sports suit shouted as he leveled up his attack. He was a fire-element Arcanist. His fire-type abilities looked impressive with a fire spear, fire blade, fireball, and fire bullets at his fingertips. Plus, his range of attack was over 3 meters. Apparently, he was a level 2 Arcanist. Chapter 13. Watching the show, Gravity Arcana. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation, I knew it. They are level 2 Arcanists. Ling Jiao raised his guard. Although level 1 and 2 Arcanists were of lower-ranked Arcanists, their combat strengths were like night and day. A level 2 Arcanist's internal strength and mastery of special abilities were not things that a level 1 Arcanist could rival. In simple words, a level 2 Arcanist could defeat 10 level 1 Arcanists. Their difference was akin to special forces and ordinary folk, they were not in the same league. Done. Their combined effort finally killed off the iron spike gator. The young man in the sports suit went up to the dire beast with a triumphant smile. Thank you for your help, everyone. You're welcome. A middle-aged man approached him. We had a deal, you promised to give every one of us 2 Class 1 dire beast hearts as a reward after we help you kill the iron spike gator. It's time for you to fulfill your promise. Others also began to go up to him. Indeed, I said that before. The young man in the sports suit curled his lips in an evil smile. But I've changed my mind now. Instead of giving you 2 dire beast hearts each, all of you have to hand over the dire beast hearts in your possession. Otherwise, don't say that I didn't give you a chance. You've duped us into this. Everyone became furious and glared at him. I managed to dupe all of you only because you were all dumb. I can't believe that you're all still talking about promises. The young man in the sports suit sneered, all of you have almost exhausted your gene arcana, haven't you? But I still have half of mine left. How can you beat me? You scumbag. Li Kai and the others gritted their teeth, but the young man in the sports suit was a level 2 Arcanist. He was much more powerful than them. They had exhausted their gene arcana in their fight with the iron spike gator and could no longer battle the young man. You better hand over the dire beast hearts now before my patience runs out. The young man in the sports suit waved his hand and summoned firewalls to encircle everyone. What are you trying to do? Feeling the scorching heat of the fire, their faces collapsed as they became disheartened. Give me the dire beast hearts now, the young man in the sports suit said faintly. Otherwise, no one can even think of leaving. Killing fellow Arcanists is prohibited during the test. Are you going to break the rules? Everyone glared at him. Killing is prohibited, of course, but there is no rule that says I can't cripple all of you. The young man in the sports suit broke into a defiant smile. Do all of you know what it means by crippling? How could you? Let's fight him. They were enraged. However, before they could make their move, several fire spears jutted out and held their legs back. Hand over the dire beast hearts if all of you don't want to become cripples. The young man in the sports suit smiled. Or else, I will have no choice but to turn you into such. Feeling the searing heat travel up their legs, they knew what the fire spears could do to them. The young man in the sports suit could make the fire spears penetrate their thighs and cause them to become cripples with a mere thought. They could never accept that eventuality no matter what. They did not want to become cripples on the first day of the test. They were not ready to be disqualified but wanted to continue the assessment for another 2 days. Fine. You got us this time. At last, they could only hand over their dire beast hearts despite how angry they were. They admitted defeat. That's more like it. The young man in the sports suit was pleased with their decision as he kept all the dire beast hearts to himself. All of you can get out of my sight now. Unbeknownst to the young man in the sports suit, the surveillance cameras on a building had captured his every move and action. The representatives from different Arcana organizations saw the footage and could not help but shake their heads and sigh. That guy is awful. He is, but rules are rules. This is nothing compared to what's going to happen on the 3rd day. That guy looks familiar. I think I've seen him before. His name is Phasia. He's one of last year's rejected. You know him, Bai Yan. How could I not know him when I've taught him for 6 months last year? Oh, he is the rejected one from your company, Pangu. Look, another person. They all shifted their attention on the monitor. Li Kai and the others gritted their teeth as they could not do anything except watch the young man in the sports suit take away their dire beast hearts. Just as they were about to leave, a teasing voice rang out. I can't believe that I've stumbled on such an exciting moment. Who is it? They all looked in the voice's direction and saw a smart-looking teen appear out of the corner. When Li Kai saw the person's face, he was delighted. Ling, this a humiliating moment for you, Li. Ling Jiu teased. That guy's a level 2 arcanist, mind you. We are not his match. Li Kai scowled at the young man in the sports suit, indignation filling his eyes. Don't worry. I will avenge you. Ling Jiu gave Li Kai an assuring look, then he turned to the young man in the sports suit. How about you return the dire beast hearts to them for my sake, friend? You. Who do you think you are? Phasia looked at Ling Jiu as if he was a ret asterisk road. I thought you were a pragmatic person, but apparently, you're an idiot. Listen, give me your dire beast hearts too, or else, I'd be happy to turn you into an idiot for real. You want my dire beast hearts? Ling Jiu wore a faint smile as he took the dimensional pocket off his waist and dropped it to the ground. Here they are. You can come and get them. That's more like it. Phasia smirked and went up to him, ready to pick the dimensional pocket up. Right then, an overpowering pressure fell on him, causing him to lose his balance. *T. It's gravity arcana. Phasia recognized what it was and quickly bounced back. The gravity arcana could do no harm to him as long as he stayed outside its field of influence. Yet, what happened next told Phasia that he was too naive. An even more powerful force of gravity fell on him, contorting his body. Retreat. It was too late. With a snap of Ling Jiu's fingers, the ground under Phasia's feet turned into quicksand. Phasia's legs sank into it, stopping only when the quicksand buried his entire legs. Immediately after, the quicksand solidified into normal ground again, trapping Phasia on the spot. So much for a level 2 arcanist. Chapter 14. Class 1 Dire Beast, the Sableback Gorilla. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. This is Gravity Arcana. Damn. As far as I know, this kid is an Earth-element arcanist. How did he possess the Gravity Arcana? Exactly. Only level 6 Earth.element Arcanists can acquire Gravity Arcana. This kid is just at level 2, yet he can already manipulate gravity. There is only one possibility. This kid's Earth.element Arcana contains the Gravity Arcana. In the monitoring center outside the county city, the eyes of a group of leaders from the Arcana organizations were glued to the monitor screen. It showed the footage of Ling Jiu subduing Fei Zhe. Soil and rock control, as well as gravity manipulation, both seem to be of Earth.element Arcana. In reality, he has awakened 2 special abilities. What a lucky one. A handsome young man could not help but gasp in admiration. This kid's potential is as good as that of the rare double Arcana geniuses. Absolutely. Others nodded in agreement. Double Arcanists had 2 awakened special abilities. Having one more special ability naturally gave them an advantage over ordinary Arcanists. Where is this kid from? The handsome young man was thinking about poaching Ling Jiu over to his company. He would receive a handsome reward if he could persuade a genius like that to join them. What? Are you thinking of poaching my man? Instructor Bai Yang shot him a sideways glance. He's from Pangu. The handsome young man smiled. You must be messing with me, Bai Yang. How dare I poach Pangu's men? You better not. So much for a level 2 Arcanist. Ling Jiu walked up to the young man in the sports suit, his voice filled with scorn. All right, you got me this time. Fei Zhe looked dead upset. What do you want? To give you a taste of your own medicine. Ling Jiu took away Fei Zhe's dimensional pocket. They helped you kill the Iron Spike Gator, but instead of fulfilling your promise, you robbed them of their dire beast hearts. You are trash. Stop pretending. Fei Zhe hissed. You would have done the same thing if you had been in my shoes. Ah, you just reminded me. Ling Jiu raised his eyebrows and passed the dimensional pocket to Li Kai. Take your dire beast hearts, Li. All right. Thanks, Li Kai was a bit hesitant at first. He took back the dire beast hearts that belonged to him in the end because his test would be affected without them. It was not the time to be pretentious. Hey, mate, thanks for beating this bastard and taking back the dire beast hearts for us. We can't thank you enough, the others said. Thank me. That won't be necessary. Ling Jiu shot them a sideways look, then pointed at Fei Zhe. I didn't help you get back the dire beast hearts. They're all mine now. The middle-aged man and the others felt frustrated about being robbed by a douchebag only to be followed by a mugger. It was a freaking bad day. Let's go, Li. Ling Jiu kept the dire beast hearts and brought Li Kai into the zoo, where many powerful dire beasts roamed. Sure enough, they bumped into a giant black gorilla, whose muscles looked like a wall of steel. It's a Class 2 dire beast, a sableback gorilla. Li Kai's expression collapsed. This is a Class 2 dire beast, Ling. Should we go around it? Why should we? A Class 2 dire beast heart is worth 10 Class 1 dire beast hearts. Don't waste this opportunity. Ling Jiu licked his lips. But are we its match? Li Kai looked at the muscular sableback gorilla and was thinking about beating a hasty retreat. They had killed an Iron Spike Gator earlier only because of their numerical strength. More importantly, the Iron Spike Gator had left the lake, which meant that it could not fight as well as it would in the water. It was due to this advantage that they managed to surround and kill the gator. However, fighting this sableback gorilla was a different story. The land was its natural habitat, and there were only the 2 of them. Could they really take on and beat this thing? Li Kai doubted it. Don't worry. Watch me. Ling Jiu smiled confidently as he moved toward the sableback gorilla. The sableback gorilla spotted Ling Jiu at once, its dark brown eyes flashing with viciousness. It roared, and ear-shattering sound waves hit him like a hammer pounding his eardrums. The dire beast pounded its chest while a ferocious energy permeated the air. Shut the F***ck up. Ling Jiao pressed down on it with a horrible force of gravity. The sableback gorilla staggered a bit and took the gravitational force with its powerful body. Next, still resisting the force of gravity on its back, it swung its fist, punching through the air at Ling Jiao with a loud sonic boom. My gosh! This thing can still react this fast under the high pressure of gravity. It could have flown into space without the gravity. It shocked Ling Jiao to see the sableback gorilla's might. He quickly summoned an earthen wall to block the attack. Following after, he slammed his hand onto the ground, and the earth turned into quicksand, sucking the sableback gorilla's legs in. The sableback gorilla struggled to pull itself out of the quicksand. At that moment, a huge rock came out of nowhere and hit the sableback gorilla on the head like a cannon. The sableback gorilla lost its balance and stumbled back into the quicksand. Li Kai had made his move. Good job, bro. Ling Jiao praised. He invoked an even more violent gravitational force on the sableback gorilla, forcing the creature to sink deeper into the quicksand. Li Kai summoned more rock shots and repeatedly hit the sableback gorilla on the head. At last, the two joined hands and forced the sableback gorilla to sink halfway into the quicksand. Next, the quicksand changed its form. In just a moment, the loose quicksand returned to solid ground, trapping the giant sableback gorilla in the ground with only its head exposed on the surface. We did it, bro. Li Kai was overjoyed. It's still too early to celebrate. Ling Jiao shook his head before he summoned a huge rock and hit the sableback gorilla mercilessly. Dush! The rock shot hit the dire beast on the head and smashed its skull, splattering white and red brain matter all over the place. The sableback gorilla could not have been more dead now. Phew! Done! Ling Jiao breathed a sigh of relief. Bro, have we just killed the sableback gorilla? Li Kai was in disbelief. What do you think? Ling Jiao smiled and took out 5 dire beast hearts from his dimensional pocket. Here you go, bro. These 5 dire beast hearts are yours now. I'll take the sableback gorilla's heart. No, no, no. That's too much. Li Kai declined. I was just helping while you were the one who killed the sableback gorilla. I'll take 2 of them. Take all of them. You deserve it. Ling Jiao shoved the 5 dire beast hearts into Li Kai's dimensional pocket. Just as he walked toward the sableback gorilla, a lackadaisical voice was heard. Chapter 15. Speed. Type Arcanist, meeting his nemesis. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation, not half bad. He's a great fighter in the making. Had he participated in the previous year, this kid would have made it into the top 3. But it won't be so easy this year. Absolutely. There's a mix of candidates this year. Although they are the rejected, they have practiced for at least a year, and you mustn't underestimate their abilities. Whatever. Pangu has a talented recruit, of which I'm envious. Their praise flattered by Yang, who felt proud because he was Ling Jiao's instructor. Look. Someone else has appeared again. I can't believe that it's him. Things seem to grow more interesting by the minute. After Ling Jiao cut open the sableback gorilla's chest and gouged out the heart, a lackadaisical voice rang out. Thank you for helping me kill it. Who is it? Ling Jiao stopped what he was doing and spun around with Li Kai in unison as an unkempt young man approached them. He was wearing a vest and short pants with a pair of sandals on his feet. He had tired eyes and appeared extremely listless. What? You want to snatch the prey from a tiger's mouth? Li Kai did not look too friendly. Snatch it is, but not necessarily from a tiger. The lackadaisical young man yawned and opened his tired eyes. You mean you too are tigers? Is that a joke? I see. You're trying to rob us, aren't you? Rob? Hell no. Don't use that word. I just want to take what belongs to me in the first place. The lackadaisical young man raised a hand. Cut the cackle. Hand over your dimensional pockets and get out of my sight. What if I don't comply? Ling Jiu sneered. I'll see how stubborn you can get. The lackadaisical young man stepped out, and the next second, he was right in front of Ling Jiu, staring him in the eye. The young man curled his lips in a faint smile, then a thud followed. The next moment, Ling Jiu felt an excruciating pain rip through his abdomen as a force sent him flying backward. Bro, Li Kai was shocked, but before he knew it, the lackadaisical young man had appeared before him. A side kick sent him flying backward as well. Loser. Looking at Ling Jiu and Li Kai, who had been sent tumbling, the lackadaisical young man yawned again. That was freaking quick. Ling Jiu's heart skipped a beat. He must be using a speed-type arcana, a rare combat-type special ability. If I replicate it. Don't make me repeat myself. The lackadaisical young man looked at the both of them. Not half bad, huh? Speed-type arcana. But you can dream on if you're thinking about snatching the dimensional pocket from me. Ling Jiu's mouth twitched, and he looked at the young man provocatively. Come and get it if you dare. We shall see. The lackadaisical young man hissed and went up to Ling Jiu in a flash again. His movements were so quick that he left an afterimage of himself behind him. Before the lackadaisical young man could make his next move, an overpowering pressure fell on him, causing him to stagger on his feet. Now's the time. Ling Jiu would not miss the opportunity. He grabbed the air and summoned a large piece of rock. Bang! Debris flew all over the place. The lackadaisical young man screamed in agony as the blow nearly broke his ribs. However, that did not stop Ling Jiu's attack. He turned the ground into quicksand that swallowed the lackadaisical young man, trapping him in the ground. Ling Jiu breathed a sigh of relief and looked at Li Kai. Are you all right? I'm fine. Li Kai covered his foot-printed face. This guy's quick, but his strength is ordinary. That kick of his couldn't hurt me. Great. Ling Jiu nodded. He then made his way toward the lackadaisical young man. I knew how it felt when you tried to rob us, but what a shame, you're too weak. You possess gravity arcana. The lackadaisical young man had a grim look. You got me this time. But don't feel too triumphant yet, there are still 2 more days of the assessment to go. If you want to play, I'll play along. Do you really think you still have a chance? Ling Jiu smirked. Your speed-type arcana is unusual. Coupled with the fact that you are a level 2 arcanist, not many arcanists are your match. So, for the sake of the lucrative reward, a strong contender like you should drop out of the race as soon as possible. What are you trying to do? The lackadaisical young man's expression changed. I'm warning you, killing fellow arcanists is prohibited in the test. If you kill me, you'll be disqualified too. Kill you? How I wish I could. Ling Jiu rolled his eyes. But I'm not ready to be disqualified yet. So, I have to apologize for your legs. No, you can't do that. It terrified the lackadaisical young man to think about losing his legs. He could only perform the speed-type arcana because of his legs. If something happened to them, he would surely fail the assessment. I'm sincerely sorry. This may be very cruel to you, but I can't help it. We're talking about the assessment here. Ling Jiu shook his head and grabbed the air with his right hand. The lackadaisical young man felt his legs twisting, and it was followed by a loud crackle. He then screamed like a pig being slaughtered. Ling Jiu released him from the ground, but his legs were completely deformed. I'm sorry, man. I have not only broken your legs but I have also taken your dimensional pocket. If you're not happy with it, come and hit me. Ling Jiao sneered as he took the dimensional pocket from the lackadaisical young man and left with Li Kai. The lackadaisical young man gritted his teeth and wept like a baby as he looked at his deformed legs and thought of his dimensional pocket. He had initially thought of marauding this gang of robbers. Little did he expect that things would end up this way for him. "Help me, sir. I give up. Come and get me now. I'm in danger." This guy really had a bad day. Absolutely. Before lower-ranked arcanists master their special abilities, a speed-type arcanist is definitely at an advantage and can easily defeat the rookies. Unfortunately, he met a gravity arcanist. The gravity arcana got this guy's speed arcana by the balls. All I can say is, he had bad luck. This poor guy bumped into teleportation arcana last year, then gravity arcana this year. He's been ousted 2 years in a row. I really don't know, alright. Which of you are going to collect him before the dire beast eats him for dinner? I'll go. Chapter 16. Slaughtering the Wolf Pack, Lionization Arcana. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. After they got rid of the lackadaisical young man, Ling Jiao and Li Kai parted. As the rule of the assessment did not encourage team forming, it was better for them to split up. Ling Jiao was very ambitious. His goal was not to just pass the test but to make it into the top 3 as well. He could not afford to get his score dragged down because he was working in a team. He continued to venture deeper into the zoo. Inside the zoo were many powerful dire beasts. After killing the iron spike gator and sableback gorilla, he encountered a few more dire beasts, most of which were class 1 and easily killed. Soon, he came to a woodland. A pack of wolf-type dire beasts was hungrily gnawing the corpse of another dire beast. These giant wolves were 4 meters long each. Their silverish white mane looked like steel needles growing on their backs, and the claws on their paws glinted in the light. Class 1 dire beast, the silver-claw wolf. Ling Jiao knew what beasts these wolves were, and he sneaked over. These silver-claw wolves were class 1 dire beasts, but there were many of them. So, Ling Jiao figured that the best way was to catch them unawares. He would have to get close to do that. As a level 2 arcanist, Ling Jiao's attack range was about 10 meters, beyond which arcana manipulation would become less effective. So he had to get within 10 meters from his targets. However, Ling Jiao had underestimated the silver-claw wolves. Before he could get close to them, one silver-claw wolf that had been tasked as the lookout spotted him. With one long howl into the air, the other silver-claw wolves stopped eating and looked over. They were growling menacingly, their silverish claws glinting with warning and murderous vibes. They just wanted to carry on eating their meal and had no intention of going after Ling Jiao. As long as Ling Jiao left them alone, they would not attack. Sadly, things did not always turn out as they wished. Instead of going away, Ling Jiao was edging closer and closer. The silver-claw wolves howled and charged at Ling Jiao since his actions had agitated them. As they got closer, they suddenly split up and worked as a team by surrounding Ling Jiao at the center. It was the wolves' typical hunting technique. A single silver-claw wolf was weak, but they could kill a class 2 dire beast when they hunted in a pack. Yet, no matter how clever their plan was, they were just a bunch of paper tigers in front of a being with absolutely superior strength. Just as the wolf pack inched closer toward Ling Jiao, they felt a horrible force pressing down on them. They struggled to move as their bodies contorted. Next, sharp earthen spikes jutted out of the ground and hit the silver-claw wolves. As the spikes pierced through their paws, hind legs, and bellies, the silver-claw wolves whined in agony. Again. With a wave of his hand, Ling Jiao summoned a dozen stone spears to pierce through their bodies and nail them dead to the ground. Done. He snapped his fingers. That's the superiority of an arcanist with dual special abilities. Using the gravity arcana for a surprise attack, followed by an earth-element arcana attack, it is just too lethal. This kid is talented. It's a shame that he has joined Pangu. Maybe it's all about the penalty for breach of contract. Many team leaders from the Arcana organizations coveted this talented teenager. They were all thinking of poaching him. Instructor Bai Yang was feeling the pressure. He knew that these guys were eyeing Ling Jiu. He could almost imagine that the better Ling Jiu performed, the more they would covet him. Ling Jiu has only signed a C-level contract with the company, and the contract termination fee is only $1 million. If other companies really wanted him, they could easily convince him to jump ship. Bai Yang's heart skipped a beat when he thought of this. I have to inform Luo Jiao. Ling Jiu had absolutely no idea that he had attracted the attention of different Arcana organizations. After he harvested a dozen Silverclaw wolf hearts, he continued his journey. Time flew, and 2 days had passed. The dire beasts have seemingly disappeared from the county city after 2 days of hunting. I should probably watch out for other contenders, they have been in a frenzy lately. Lin Jiu was sitting in front of the window on the 29th floor of an apartment and eating freshly grilled barbecue while enjoying the scenery outside. The assessment had progressed to the ultimate stage. Whether they could pass the test and what position they would achieve depended on how they could make use of the second half of the day. Hence, everyone was in a frenzy. Robbery had become common, and getting robbed was also just as common. To avoid this madness, many candidates had gone into hiding just like him. I wonder if my harvest is good enough to get me into the top 3. Ling Jiu thought to himself. He was determined to make it into the top 3 by hook or by crook. Be it the intermediate Gene Arcana secret technique, $1 million in monthly pay, or a mansion, he wanted them all. Half an hour later, Ling Jiu finished his lunch and took a brief rest before he continued to scan the surroundings. He became notorious because he had robbed too many people during the past 2 days. People would avoid him like a plague when they spotted him from afar. So robbery had become more difficult. Ling Jiu could only lie in wait for his prey to show up. He suddenly heard a fight in the distance. He spied in the sound's direction and saw a few arcanists fighting on top of a building. That's an opportunity. Ling Jiu quickly ran in that direction. He must have collected many dire beast hearts. Defeat him, and we'll take all of his harvests. Guys, let's do it. 4 arcanists were fighting a lion man. With the head, claws, tail, and fur of a lion and the body of a human, the lion man could stand on 2, much like the lion man in mythology. However, this figure was not a lion man but an arcanist with a lionization ability. The lionization special ability belonged to shape-shift. Type Arcana. Once the arcanist shape-shifted, he or she would have the power, speed, and offensive abilities of a lion. The 4 attackers comprised of a fire-element arcanist, a water-element arcanist, a wood-element arcanist, and a soundwave arcanist. These 4 arcanists were powerful, and they had tacit coordination with each other. Yet, they were still no match for the lion man. The lion man was agile, and he could easily dodge the attacks from the fire-element, water-element, and wood-element arcanists. Only the soundwave arcanist could pose some problems to him. Attack me. All of you have walked into my trap. I purposely exposed my hiding place to lure idiots like you so that I could take your harvests. The lion man burst into laughter as he appeared before the wood-element arcanist in a flash and struck him with his claws. He was too fast. Before the wood-element arcanist knew it, he was hit in the chest. Blood spurted out of his mouth while he was sent tumbling back. 1. The lion man sped toward the water-element arcanist. Fear and desperation filled his eyes as the lion claws struck him. The blow sent the water-element arcanist flying backward. Not good. Run. It shocked the fire-element and soundwave arcanists to see how powerful the lion man was. They were thinking about running away, but it was still too little, too late. Bang! Bang! The fire element and soundwave arcanists became airborne at the sound of two bangs. Done. The Lion Man clapped his hands with delight. Anyone who had reached that stage would have either lost everything or collected a lot of dire beast hearts. If those 4 arcanists possessed any dire beast hearts, it would be in a large quantity. His tactic of lying in wait was paying off big time now. Chapter 17. Lure Fishing, Counting the Harvest. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Who is this guy? He's savage. Luo Nan, one of last year's rejected candidates. Last year. No wonder he's this good. The battle between Lion Man Luo Nan and the 4 arcanists had attracted the attention of other contenders. While the two sides were fighting, others were watching from a distance, trying to play the role of the third dog that runs away with the bone in the form of the dire beast hearts. When they saw how puissant Luo Nan was, however, they were disheartened. That strategy would not work if one side was a tiger, and the other was a sheep. The third dog would most likely end up with a bad day. 30.9 hearts. Not half bad. This guy has 20.8. I've hit the jackpot. Luo Nan was ecstatic. He obtained 120 dire beast hearts from the 4 arcanists, which was more than he had expected. We'll make sure that you get your comeuppance, bastard. It reduced them to tears when the Lion Man took away their dire beast hearts, which had taken them a great deal of effort to harvest. They would surely fail the assessment this time. Oh, yeah. Say that to the recruits next year. All of you have no chance this year. Luo Nan sneered, brushing off the threat that those 4 arcanists made. He had made the same threat last year, and it did not end well for him. Others had passed the test while he was disqualified. So, barking and whining were useless. UA****. Luo Nan disappeared from the dilapidated streets. After his first success, he wanted to find another location to carry out another lure fishing. He came to an abandoned shop and started to take a nap, making himself look as if he was hiding and sleeping there. He snored loudly to attract attention. The snore was his fishing lure. Luo Nan believed that he would surely lure some fish to him. This guy looks like he's all brawn and no brain, but in reality, he's a sneaky bugger. Can't judge a book by its cover. Ling Jiu had no words for it as he peeked at Luo Nan, who was feigning his sleep, from behind the shop's glass window. Wolves were not frightening. A wolf in sheep's clothing was more terrifying. The assessment was almost coming to an end, and everyone was thinking about getting as many dire beast hearts as possible by robbing others so that they could achieve excellent results. Setting up a simple trap could lure a bunch of unsuspecting people at this time. Luo Nan's ingenious idea was far more effective than looking for victims by roaming around aimlessly. Ling Jiu kicked the shop's door open and stormed in. Luo Nan opened his eyes abruptly, feeling groggy. It had only been less than 2 minutes into his nap, and a prey had already walked into his trap. What a lucky day, he thought. He bounced up and looked at Ling Jiu with a faint smile. You want my dire beast hearts? Of course. Saying nothing else, Ling Jiu utilized his gravity arcana on Luo Nan, forcing him to stagger on his feet. Next, a large piece of stone slate flew straight at his face. **T. Luo Nan's expression collapsed. He quickly ducked, trying to avoid the stone slate, but he suddenly felt the pressure on him disappear. Even the force of gravity was gone, and his body floated up involuntarily. Bang! The stone slate hit him so hard that he started to see stars. Next, stone slates in the surrounding rose in the air and rushed toward him. In just the blink of an eye, the stone slates piled on him. He struggled to get away with all his strength, but it was useless. The weight of the stone slates and gravitational force set him in place, nearly pressing the air out of his lungs. You bastard! Luo Nan was as desperate as he was furious. How could the fish that nibbles at every bait not get caught, eh? Ling Jiu shook his head slightly. Besides, you were overconfident. Luring your victims would have landed you in trouble soon or later. How did you know that? Luo Nan was startled. I was watching you from a distance while you were robbing the 4 arcanists. Ling Jiu reached out to take Luo Nan's dimensional pocket, then he tipped the dire beast hearts out. Tisk, tsk. How many poor chaps have you robbed to get so many dire beast hearts, eh? Ling Jiu was in awe. Kid, if you dare to take my dire beast hearts, I won't let you go unpunished. Luo Nan was desperate. These dire beast hearts were necessary for him to pass the assessment. He would surely fail if Ling Jiu took them all. You won't let me go unpunished. You should tell this to the rookies next year. You don't have a chance this year. Ling Jiu repeated what Luo Nan said to the 4 arcanists earlier. Luo Nan felt shame and anger, almost on the brink of getting a heart attack. That's it, goodbye. Ling Jiu kept all of the dire beast hearts inside his dimensional pocket and left the shop under Luo Nan's watchful, murderous eyes. Ling Jiu started to do what Luo Nan did, hiding in an abandoned shop and pretending to take a nap with a loud snore to lure his victims. The trick worked surprisingly well, as 3 groups of people eventually walked into the trap, and Ling Jiu obtained vast quantities of plunder. A loud siren blared through the sky above the county city at noon. It was a signal that told him the assessment had ended. Phew! It's finally over. Damn! It ended so quickly. The rookies breathed a sigh of relief. Some were indignant, while others were nonchalant when they heard the siren and came out of hiding. Lantian Base City. Unit A.35, Great Tang Residences. Ling Tianxi and Ling Xiaotong were sitting on the sofa, staring at the LED TV screen that had a live telecast of the situation outside Kjiapo County City. Lu Bowen, 14 points. Wang Jun, 21 points. Dong Tian, 41 points. Wang Jiabao, 41 points. Recruits came out of the county city as the personnel from the Arcanist Directorate counted the harvest quantities. A Class 1 Direbeast's heart was worth 1 point. A Class 2 Direbeast's heart was worth 10 points. There was a huge difference between the heart of a Class 1 and Class 2 Direbeast, which was easy to tell. The media responsible for filming the event was telecasting the event to thousands of homes in Lantian Base City. Do you think brother will pass the assessment, Dad? Ling Xiaotong looked tense. He surely will. He's my son. Ling Tianxi was anxious too. The test concerned his son's future, so he could not say that he was not nervous. The bosses and leaders of various arcana organizations were watching the live telecast too. They were concerned about the results of the assessment. Luo Jia from Pangu Arcana Combine was one of them. The recruits might still be greenhorns, but they were the future of the company, which needed to train new blood to replenish and grow the organization. Bai Yang says Ling Jiu has done very well and has high hopes of getting the number 1 position. There was a hint of anticipation in Luo Jia's eyes. Gao Yong, 7 points. Wang Jixiang, 0 points. 0. Yet another poor guy. As the time ticked by, the recruits gradually exited the county city and received their results. Some were overjoyed with their outstanding achievements, while some were in dismay due to their poor performances. Ling Jiu had also come out. Look, Dad. It's brother. That rascal's finally out. Chapter 18. Poaching, A+ contract. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation, it's Ling Jiu. He's coming out. That *** hole took all of my harvests, damn it. He's come out at last. Seeing Ling Jiu emerge, the team leaders from various arcana combines, the media, and those whom he had robbed, all had their eyes on him. "You're finally out, bro." Li Kai and Wang Jiabao stepped forth to receive him at once. "How did you guys do? Did you two pass the assessment?" Ling Jiu asked with a smile. "I got 56, and Wang Jiabao got 41. Li Kai could not hide his excitement. "Judging from Instructor Bai Yang's tone, our results should be good enough to pass." "Congratulations." Ling Jiu smiled. "Yeah, it's something really worth celebrating." Li Kai was so happy that he was almost in tears. Passing the assessment meant that he could continue to stay in Pangu Arcana Combine, which was something he had been looking forward to. "What about you, Ling Jiu? Did you get a fabulous catch?" Wang Jiabao was curious. "I heard from Li Kai that you could kill Class 2 dire beasts and you're a level 2 Arcanist now. With all those abilities, you must have collected a lot of dire beast hearts." "I did all right." Ling Jiu smiled before he went up to a staff and handed over his dimensional pocket. The staff tipped out the dire beast hearts, which were so many that he had to take several steps back to make room for them. "Seriously, that many? How many dire beasts did he kill?" People were shocked to see the entire floor of dire beast hearts. No one had collected as many dire beast hearts as Ling Jiu so far. A few staff members came up to help with the counting. Then, they announced the result: 5.160 Class 1 dire beast hearts, and 19 Class 2 dire beast hearts. That comes to a total of 750 points. Everyone was in awe. Over 700 points. Is he human? We were struggling to even make it past 100, yet he's collected over 700 points. This is not on a human level anymore. People looked at Ling Jiu like he was a monster. Such a result was just obscenely off the charts, leaving other candidates in the dust. "I knew you would get a good result, bro. But I never expected that it would be this good. 750 points. Li Kai looked at Ling Jiu in disbelief. "You just blew me out of the water. He just outran everyone else." Wang Jiabao exclaimed. "Brother has gotten 750 points, Dad." Ling Xiaotong jumped up in excitement, admiration filling her face. "He has obtained the number 1 position, he's so awesome. I'm proud of you, son." Ling Tianxi's eyes reddened with emotions. Pangu Arcana Combine. This kid isn't half bad at all. Luo Jia, the general manager of Pangu, took out her mobile phone to call the legal department with a smile on her face. "Draft a new A+ contract for me." Ling Jiu. A handsome young man walked up to Ling Jiu and offered his hand. "Hello, Ling Jiu. My name is Wang Zhen, and I'm an instructor from Vulcan Arcana Combine. Nice to meet you, Instructor Wang." Ling Jiu held out his hand and greeted him. "You have become a level 2 Arcanist in just a short span of 6 months, Ling Jiu. You must have been working very hard. What impresses me is your double special abilities of earth and gravity manipulation. You are a brilliant talent." Wang Zhen, the handsome young man, grinned. "On behalf of Vulcan Arcana Combine, I would like to invite you to join us." Li Kai and Wang Jiabao looked on with envy. Only outstanding candidates would get such an outright offer. The fact that the Vulcan instructor poached Ling Jiu in front of everyone showed how impressive Ling Jiu was, so much so that the Vulcan instructor did not bother to keep things discreet. Other companies were eyeing such talent too, but they were not confident enough to compete with Pangu and Vulcan. They knew that they could not compete. "How did you get the nerve to poach my man in front of us, Wang Zhen?" Instructor Bai Yang came over with an unfriendly expression on his face. "Talents are fair game." Wang Zhen simply did not give a hoot about what Bai Yang said. Vulcan will not want to miss such a talent like Ling Jiu. Besides, he has only signed a contract with Pangu. He hasn't signed his life away to you, so he has every right to join Vulcan. "You want to poach our man? First show me what you've got." Instructor Bai Yang hissed, then he looked at Ling Jiu. General Manager Luo Jia and I were on the phone just now. She said that she's very pleased with your outstanding performance in this assessment and you totally deserve an A-level contract. You can sign the contract as soon as you get back. Thank you, Instructor and General Manager Luo. Ling Jiu was elated. An A-level contract offered $1 million pay per month, an intermediate Gene Arcana secret technique, a bungalow, and a 30% discount in shopping, which was so much better than the current C-level contract. It's so stingy of you to buy a talent with only an A-level contract. Wang Jing scoffed. I'll get you an A+ contract if you join Vulcan, Ling Jiu. An A+ contract. It stunned Ling Jiu to hear that. An A+ contract was basically an A-level contract with some upscale adjustments. Higher pay, advanced instead of intermediate Gene Arcana secret techniques, as well as other benefits and perks, were among the upscale adjustments. All in all, an A+ contract was slightly better than an A-level contract, but not by much. It was still incomparable to the higher S-level contract. You are being a cutthroat in this competition, Wang Jin. Bai Yang was furious. It's not so much of a cutthroat competition but that we at Vulcan value talent. Wang Jin shook his head. You should know what it means when we offer you an A+ contract, Ling Jiu. Our general manager made this offer because she holds you in high regard. I understand. Ling Jiu nodded. With great power came great responsibility and benefits too. Different classes of arcanists enjoyed different benefits and perks, a rule that everyone strictly adhered to. Generally, a level 1 arcanist would get a C-level contract. A level 2 arcanist would get a B-level contract. A level 3 arcanist could get an A-level contract. But only a level 4 arcanist could get an A+ contract. The fact that Vulcan Arcana Combined had offered an A+ contract to a level 2 arcanist showed their level of appreciation for Ling Jiu. Vulcan is very sincere in inviting you to be a part of us, Ling Jiu. Join us. Wang Zhen was confident. Under our guidance in Vulcan, I believe that you will become a powerful arcanist in no time. Ling Jiu. Bai Yang became a little desperate. The A+ contract was a much better offer than his A-level contract. He was afraid that Ling Jiu might choose Vulcan over Pangu. Yet, to his surprise, Ling Jiu rejected the offer. I sincerely appreciate Instructor Wang and Vulcan's offer, but I regret to say that I've signed up with Pangu Arcana Combine and have no plans on joining other companies. You declined the offer. Wang Zhen looked at Ling Jiu, transfixed. I'm really sorry. Ling Jiu bowed slightly. That's all right. Wang Zhen appeared disappointed, but he did not press the matter. As talented as Ling Jiu was, Vulcan did not have to lower itself just to make Ling Jiu join the company. That's more like it, Ling Jiu. Instructor Bai Yang breathed a sigh of relief as he looked at Ling Jiu with appreciation. Chapter 19. Pangu Mall, Astronomical Prices. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation Unit A.35, Great Tang Residences. Ling Xiaotong, Ling Jiu's younger sister, held a glass of orange juice in her hand, and her eyes were filled with admiration. Congratulations on passing the assessment and getting the top spot. You are my idol from now on. What idol? I'm your elder brother. Ling Jiu rolled his eyes as he clinked glasses with his young sister. Who says a brother can't be an idol? His younger sister rolled her eyes back at him. Are you going to sign a new contract with the company tomorrow, and will have to move house again, brother? Ling Jiu nodded. My contract with the company is of a C-level now. Tomorrow, we will sign an A-level contract, which comes with a bungalow, a level up from the one we are currently staying in. Ah, a bungalow. His younger sister's eyes brightened up. I knew we would move to a bungalow someday when you awakened your special ability. But I never expected the day to come so soon. You are awesome, brother. Now you know. Ling Jiu flipped his long hair back, trying to look cool. Your brother, will be the most powerful man in the world. The bungalow is just the beginning. The most powerful man in the world. Yeah, talk big. His younger sister rolled her eyes. Emperor Mike from your company has been the default most powerful man in the world for 30 consecutive years. He'll be the first one to disagree with you. He might be more powerful than me now, but it will be hard to say in the future. Ling Jiu chuckled. Becoming the world's #1 is my first small goal. You call that a small goal? His younger sister was struck dumb. Yeah, that's a small goal. Watching his children have a friendly bicker with each other, Ling Tianxi felt happy and proud. His marriage and business had ended in a failure, but having a pair of children made him feel more successful than anything else. The family of 3 stayed up late that night. After Ling Jiu cleaned himself up, he returned to his spacious room and switched on his computer. The dire beasts had invaded this world and affected the development of technology, but technologies such as microchips, material technology, and virtual projection were still booming. Among them was computer technology. The computers in this world were smart and flexible. They could fit inside the pocket like a mobile phone and were wearable like a watch. Not only did they possess all the functions of a computer in his past life but also thousands of other uses that previous computers lacked. There was a real-life mirror, for traveling anywhere, a simulated piano, that could create staves and perform pieces, as well as the Maliang pen, that could turn drawings into real-life objects, to name a few. Other than these functions, the Smart Home system was the most widely used technology, just like the Smart Home system equipped bungalow where Ling Jiu currently stayed. It could wake you up in the morning, remind you to take your breakfast, get a hot shower ready for you, automatically clean up the garbage, and even alert the police during an emergency. In simple words, the computers in this world were terrific. Animation, games, movies, and dramas were very advanced. Recluses would find this place a paradise. Ling Jiu logged into the company's website. After he used his ID card as authentication to gain access, a cute ant showed up on the screen. Nice to meet you, Ling Jiu. I am your assistant to help you navigate the official website of Pangu Arcana Combine. Let me walk you through the website. The ant sounded excited. Pangu's official website is divided into 5 sections. The background, news, forum, mall, and Arcanist management. The background section mainly introduces the history and organizational structure of the company. The news section contains company memos and current news, through which you can learn about Pangu Arcana Combine's decisions and everything that happens around the world without needing to leave your home. The forum. The mall is the place where you can find and buy any items that you want, such as Gene Arcana secret techniques, special ability manuals, weaponry, transport, protective equipment, electronic devices, gourmet items, medical supplies, and treasures of heaven and earth. Of course, you can hire a higher-level arcanist for 1.2.1 tutoring if you have the money. Tell me more about the Gene Arcana secret technique. It is the internal strength cultivation method of our arcanists. It is divided into 4 types, namely beginner, intermediate, advanced, and ultimate. Different levels produce different levels of cultivation base. Ultimate Gene Arcana. It stunned Ling Jiu to hear that. Instructor Bai Yang had never talked about the ultimate Gene Arcana secret technique. It is the pinnacle of the Gene Arcana secret techniques, which makes Gene Arcana absorption 10,000 times more effective, the little ant said. 10,000 times. Wow! Ling Jiu gaped in awe. While the beginner one only granted an absorption rate that was 10 times more effective, the ultimate Gene Arcana technique made it 10,000 times. The difference was just like day and night. If I had this ultimate Gene Arcana secret technique, one day of cultivation would produce a result equivalent to 20.7 years of normal cultivation. A year of cultivation equated to 10,000 years of normal cultivation. Shocking. Aspiring. ENV Lingjiu was gasping. How much does the Ultimate Gene Arcana Secret Technique cost? The Ultimate Gene Arcana Secret Technique is the crown jewel of the company, not measurable in terms of money. It is not for sale unless there is some special contribution. The little ant still looked excited while Lingjiu's expression had collapsed. Not for sale. Then why did they put it in the mall? Just to tease people. What about the Advanced Gene Arcana Technique? Since the Ultimate Gene Arcana Technique was not for sale, Lingjiu would settle for second best. The Advanced Gene Arcana Technique that increased the effectiveness of the absorption rate by 1,000 times. The Advanced Gene Arcana Secret Technique costs 10 billion. 10 billion. Disappointment was written all over his face. His monthly pay was only 1 million, and he would need to save up for 10,000 months or 833 years for it. I would be long dead in 833 years. Lingjiu cursed in his mind, fighting back the urge to smash things up while steering the conversation away. Tell me about the other Arcana manuals, little ant. If the Gene Arcana Secret Technique is an internal strength cultivation method, then Arcana manuals would be martial art manuals like the Demon Bane Sword, the Solitary Nine Sword, Star Devourer, and the like. Arcanists can gain greater strength with these Arcana manuals. The Arcana manuals. Chapter 20. Sands of Annihilation, the Treasure of Heaven and Earth. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation, Martial Arts Manuals. Lingjiu's eyes lit up. Just like the Gene Arcana Secret Technique, the Arcana manuals are divided into basic, intermediate, advanced, and ultimate Arcana manuals, the little ant said. Different classes of Arcana manuals bear different costs. However, they are still much cheaper than the Gene Arcana Secret Techniques of the same class. The basic Arcana manuals start from 1 million, intermediate Arcana manuals start from 10 million, advanced manuals start from 100 million, and the ultimate manuals, 1 billion. Of course, different Arcanas have different manuals and fall into different categories. Metal, wood, fire, water, and earth. They are much cheaper compared to the Gene Arcana Secret Techniques. Lingjiu sighed. May I take a look at the Earth. Element Arcana manuals? A table popped up on the screen, listing various basic Earth. Element Arcana manuals, complete with their titles and brief introductions. Let's take a look at the first one, the Spiral Stone Spear. The Spiral Stone Spear. Basic Earth. Element Arcana manual. Thanks to its rapid rotation, the Spiral Stone Spear has higher penetration ability and speed. It is also 2 times more lethal than ordinary stone spears. The Spiral Stone Spear is 2 times more lethal than an ordinary stone spear. Not too bad. Lingjiu scrolled down the list. Other than the Spiral Stone Spear, there was the Rapid Mud Shot, the Earthen Brambles, and the Colossal Stone Hammer. Hold on a second. There were over 10,000 types. These basic Earth. Element Arcana manuals had limitations, their power was 2 times the strength of ordinary Arcana at most. Following that, Lingjiu clicked on the intermediate Earth. Element Arcana manuals. The Meteor Hammer. Intermediate Earth. Element Arcana manual. The hammer shoots out at high speed on a fixed trajectory, combing kinetic and potential energies so it produces 4 times the lethality of an ordinary stone hammer upon impacting the target. Brutal Stalagmite. Intermediate Arcana manual. 4 times the lethality of an ordinary Arcana, but bad. Lingjiu continued to scroll and found that the advanced Arcana manuals had skills that were 8 times the strength of ordinary Arcana. Meanwhile, the Ultimate Arcana manuals contained skills that were 20 times the strength of ordinary Arcana, but their prices were also appropriately higher, 100 million and 1 billion, respectively. I can only afford the basic Arcana manuals. The advanced and ultimate arcana manuals are way beyond my budget. It's all about money. Ling Jiao let out a sigh of disappointment. He initially thought that after he became an arcanist and lived in a bungalow with millions in annual pay, he could join the rich men's club. Only now did he realize that he was still no better than he was last time because he could only afford the most basic arcana manuals. Let's see the weaponry. Weaponry is categorized into cold and hot weapons. Cold weapons comprise the metal, wood, water, fire, and earth series, while hot weapons are of modern technology. Ling Jiao clicked the earth.element cold weapons, which consisted of different types of earth. Ordinary earth, heavy sand, solid rock, and special earthen substances. Earth.element cold weapons were divided into 4 classes. Basic, intermediate, advanced, and ultimate. I didn't know that earth and rock were of different classes. Ling Jiao clicked on the ultimate earth.element cold weapons, which only displayed one type. The Sands of Annihilation. The Sands of Annihilation. A type of magical quicksand. It is not only incredibly heavy but also unbelievably tough. It is fireproof with a high melting point and can withstand extreme cold. It is so far the toughest and densest sand element on Earth. Price: 10 billion/cubic meter. 10 billion for 1 cubic meter. Holy moly! Ling Jiao gasped in shock. A cubic meter of gold weighed 19.32 tons. A ton of gold was worth 270 million, which meant that 19.32 tons of gold were worth 5.2 billion. While a cubic meter of gold was worth 5.2 billion, a cubic meter of the Sands of Annihilation was 10 billion. Who could afford something more expensive than gold? That being said, this Sands of Annihilation must be terrifyingly powerful. Ling Jiao thought to himself. The Earth-type arcanist could manipulate the earth, rock, and sand. No matter how heavy these things were, it would not pose a problem to the Earth-type arcanist. But it would be another story for the enemy. Would attacking your enemy with ordinary sand be the same as using the incredibly heavy Sands of Annihilation? The answer was a definite no. If I can get my hands on a few cubic meters of Sands of Annihilation, my combat strength will surely increase by several notches. Stone shots, stone spears, stone hammers, stone guns, earthen spikes, and swamps formed by the Sands of Annihilation are so much more powerful than those formed by ordinary earth and rocks. Ling Jiao was almost drooling. It's a shame that this item is too expensive. There's no way I can afford it. Following that, Ling Jiao clicked on the advanced earth.element cold weapons. Compared with the ultimate earth.element cold weapon menu, which only contained one item, namely the Sands of Annihilation, the advanced earth.element cold weapons had over 20 types. Osmium ore. The rare earth that contains osmium, the densest metal in this world. This means it is the heaviest metal. The powder ground from the osmium rare earth is 20 times heavier than ordinary earth. Price: 10 million/cubic meter. This is still very expensive. Next, black sand. Black sand is the toughest synthetic material ever made. Sand that is ground from the black rock is tougher than diamond and 100 times stronger than steel. Price: 10 million/cubic meter. After he read through the entire series of weapons, Ling Jiao's eyes were on fire. The problem was, there was none he could afford. I am too broke. Ling Jiao wailed to himself. He then clicked on the transport menu. The mall sold all kinds of transportation. Aside from ordinary vehicles, there was another type of vehicle that caught Ling Jiao's attention. It was a maglev vehicle. Thanks to the dire beast's invasion, the material technology of this world had become extremely advanced. Among them, the superconductor materials were more advanced than those on Earth in his past life. Hence, the maglev vehicle technology was far more mature than anything he had seen in his past life. Ling Jiao could not take his eyes off all of them, from the least expensive maglev motorcycles and more expensive maglev cars to the large maglev airplanes as well as ultra-luxury maglev airships. I can't even afford the least expensive maglev motorcycle. Ling Jiu whined. It still costs at least 10 million. Maglev motorcycle. 15 million maglev car. 80 million maglev airplane. 300 million maglev airship. 5 billion. It was because of the astronomical cost that these maglev vehicles had little relation to the ordinary folk, and they were rare in Lantian Bay City. Next, Ling Jiu went on to study the protective equipment, electronic products, gourmet items, medical supplies, and the treasure of heaven and earth. The treasure of heaven and earth was basically the essence of heaven and earth. Each type of treasure possessed incredible uses in awakening abilities, increasing gene arcana absorption, physical enhancements, and soul elevation.